What's up, nerds? Welcome to NGR Radio B-Sides. Remember, you can find B-Sides every Thursday at noon Eastern on youtube.com/NGR Radio and NGRradio.com/B-Sides. You know, just in case you can't get enough of us on Mondays. Joining me is that guy Moose.
Yeah! Welcome.
And the Nerds Gone Platinum crew, Jason and Jeff.
Hello.
Woo!
We are his.
We're taking
Which is
over.
fitting because we have a great topic, which I don't know. I kind of feel like it's appropriate now that, you know, we're getting great games on PlayStation like God of War and Horizon and the like. So the topic this week is PlayStation 4's library building a legacy library that will one day rival Nintendo's legacy?
Ooh.
And since I have the NGP crew here, I'm going to get the best unbiased opinion ever.
Wow.
All right, who wants to go first? Jason?
Well, you started. You can.
All right. Well, let's see. So, being the eldest of the group, I was kind of like in the very young years when the NES came out, and unfortunately, I was when Pong came out. Was when
I was gonna say you were really young. Yeah, I was gonna say, buddy.
Yeah, Pong.
I was really young.
I went through Pong, in television, Atari 2600, NES, ColecoVision, you name it, basically, all through them. And I was never allowed to have any of them. My parents were not video game believers or willing to plunk down the money for it. So I basically had to wait until I could afford a system of my own. Otherwise, I would just have to live vicariously through my friends down the street and hope that they would invite me over where I could get a glimpse of what it'd be like to play video games. So I did buy an NES, but fairly late in the systems. I bought it used and late. And because of that, I didn't really ever play some of the games that most Nintendo fans are so fond of. Like, I have literally never played like Zelda Link for the Past or all the Zelda titles, and I was never really into Metroid, and it's those things. And even Mario, it's like, I played some, but it wasn't like I was just spending hours and hours and hours on these titles like some of the people who have a huge affinity for Nintendo IPs have.
Mm-hmm.
I respect that, and I am drawn to them, which is why I continually buy a 3DS and now a Switch, and for some reason just cannot continue to use them. Now the Switch is fairly early, so I can't really comment on that, but I've gone through multiple 3DSs, or I should say the DS and a Game Boy and the 3DS, and just over and over and over, and have collections of games in there that I just have never really even completed. And I'm trying to think about like why, right? And all the time I've got these other systems side by side. Went from the original Xbox, actually I should say original PlayStation to PlayStation 2 to original Xbox to 360. Then finally in the tail end of the PS3 era, I got that, and into the PS4 and the Xbox One. So I've always had what, and I shudder to use this term, a more adult console.
Yeah.
It's like, but what draws me back to Nintendo is those IPs and the idea of experiencing kind of the joy that goes along with Nintendo IPs.
Yeah.
So to the topic, the point, I feel like to some degree, Sony is. I mean, obviously, this generation, Sony is just killing it with original IPs, and they have a lot of great stuff in their stable. But I don't think that they would ever really overtake Nintendo, because Nintendo will always have nostalgia on their side, and they will always be able to kind of refresh those IPs and bring them back. We still got a plenty of IPs that Nintendo hasn't put onto Switch yet that everybody's waiting for and begging for, and they will eventually come.
Yeah, but to your point though, like people are starting to get that way about PlayStation, because those kids who made the jump from, like, say, Super Nintendo when they were young to PlayStation instead of N64, and then they grew up in their early to mid teens playing God of War. Now that IP has grown up with them, similar to like the way Zelda has kind of grown up with us, where it went from 2D to 3D, then from the Ocarina of Time kind of what do you call it, the way Ocarina of Time is laid out with Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword, and then the new evolution that is Breath of the Wild. Nintendo IP have reinvented themselves 2 or 3 times at this point.
Right.
And Sony is finally getting to that point where they're like, okay, what can we do to refresh some old fan favorite IP that kind of don't work in their old ways anymore?
Yeah. No, you make a good point. And I think maybe to some degree, the perspective on whether or not Sony can do that is maybe based on just the decade that you grew up in, right?
I think it's subjective. I think like you said, it's age wise. Like I think Sony will have legendary IPs on to the people that started playing when Sony was out. Do I feel like Sony's IPs will ever reach the legendary status of let's say we'll call them the big 3, Mario, Zelda, and Metroid? Probably not, but it's different because Nintendo put their stuff out when, I'm not saying video games were like infancy, but they were relatively young. And Nintendo was the first, they came along, made a console, and put Mario out there, had a Zelda, put Metroid out there, and did some really cool stuff, and then kept going with it. And Sony, Sony joined the game because they were, working with Nintendo, and Nintendo was like, nope, we're not going to work with you. And so Sony went and made their own console, and then, went on to do some great things themselves. I just feel, if Sony was there when Nintendo was doing it, I feel like, even you think of Sonic. Sonic's pretty iconic, but I don't feel he's as iconic as Mario or the Legend of Zelda games are. Just because, like, the reach that Nintendo has and the marketing that they've done, the family, not that Sonic isn't family friendly, but I think it's also the nostalgia. Like Jeff said, like Mario and Zelda have that nostalgia. I played Breath of the Wild. It's the first Zelda game I've played since Wind Waker, and loved every minute of it. Fell in love with the series again, and I'm hoping that we see some games come to the Virtual Console so I can go back and play some older ones, some older Zelda games. But I just don't. I think it's just different. I think to try and compare the two just doesn't work.
Yeah, the thing with the difference there, it's like, you already see it happening on the Sony side with them bringing back older IPs for the previous generations with Crash and now Spyro coming and so forth.
Patapod's coming out sometime this year, which was their series.
Though, what, like you just said, Crash and Spyro, like the things people are nostalgic for too, for that at least original PlayStation, which is where I think a lot of people's nostalgia for PlayStation is going to be the PlayStation 2 era and forward. Because a lot of the things people are nostalgic for on PlayStation 1 are third-party titles like Tomb Raider, Metal Gear, Crash, Spyro, Final Fantasy. Like, those are all third-party things that maybe you associate with PlayStation, but they're available other places.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, like
and that's why like God of War now is kind of like the first true big huge Sony IP that's getting a quote unquote soft reboot or reinvention, you know, because it appeared on PS2 and that was such a huge game on PS2.
Yeah.
And then they kind of, I don't know, kept the formula through Ascension and people started trailing off. And this is where they're reinventing themselves. This is their kind of Breath of the Wild
right.
iteration on this franchise.
I think for Sony, these are definitely franchises that'll hit home a little more than Killzone or Resistance. Not necessarily Uncharted. I mean, Lost Legacy. Spoiler for anyone who hasn't played it, but Lost Legacy is this. I think that's a step in a cool direction. Let's hear some stories from other people inside the Uncharted universe, and that's freaking awesome. Let's do that. You know, put you know, whatever. Put Drake on a shelf and whatever, and let's see some adventures from other people. Like I'd love to see something with his brother Sam and Sully doing something together. That would be freaking cool. You know, so like I feel like they're now in a place where they can like build like really good franchises and IPs that are solid for more of a fan base than like Killzone or Resistance. But I do feel that they kind of do need like a shooter. They need a shooter somewhere. They need to either bring back SOCOM. They need to like get another Killzone out there, which it won't be Guerrilla Games making it because they're too busy doing the next Horizon.
I want them to come out and make a kind of like reboot Resistance and make it sort of like what Doom and Wolfenstein are doing.
That would be cool. Now, see, that would be badass. I've never played the Resistance series, so I have a PS3, so I'd kind of like to get the collection and play through it if I can. But that is kind of like the only thing that they're lacking. Like Sony does that. Sony has all like the single player, third person action adventure games, and then doesn't have a shooter. And then Xbox has the shooters, but no like third, person or first person action adventure games. So like they're kind of like the mirror of each other. And so I feel if they could get a first party shooter in, they'd have like a really, really good collection of games that you can play. Right. And granted, Uncharted is kind of a shooter, but I don't feel it's as
it's more of an adventure with shooting combat than it is like it's not like we're comparing
Gears.
Uncharted to Gears, right?
Yeah,
it's more Gears. There's nothing quite like Gears still out there.
Yeah. I mean, the Division came close. I felt the Division was a better shooter than Gears was, but I haven't played Gears.
I was just talking like Sony.
No. I know. I'm just saying like that could be on their system. You know what I'm saying? Like so. I think resurrecting SOCOM would be awesome. Or even Siphon Filter.
This would be the time to do it. You could do it like Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah. Even
make it like a $30 game, and then maybe not charge for operators, but you could like unlock them as you moved along, and each operator could have like a different thing, and it would be a team-based thing. I think that would be really cool.
Go ahead, Jason.
I think the key though is Sony established these franchises this time. Like PS4. I mean, some of these they made like best games of all time lists, but they're resurrecting stuff. Nintendo hasn't. Mario's been relevant, and it's not like, he was just this character. He had shitty games. All of a sudden, he had an Odyssey, which is amazing. He's had
Mario Party exists.
No, but I'm saying
he's
had quality. Yeah, he's had crap like Paper Mario 2. That was awful, but he's had quality games. Same with Zelda. There's been they've lasted all this time. Like, are we going to see Aloy on PlayStation 6? Probably not. Like, we'll probably see a Horizon Zero Dawn 2. Maybe we see another one on PS5. But there's going to continue being Mario. We're not going to see Nathan Drake on PlayStation 5 because they might continue Uncharted, but his story's kind of wrapped up. I think Sony can have the franchises, but I don't think anyone's going to hold a torch to Nintendo with the specific characters.
I
Like,
think
true.
I
I
think
think
their characters are more eternal. Like if you look at Sony stuff, it's more set, it's set in a reality. Like you look at Mario, Mario's kind of like a cartoonish world where it's almost like comic book. Like,
what do you mean? You don't flush yourself down a toilet and then in a magical world with flying turtles and
then the
walking
same
mushrooms?
and the same with like Zelda. It's kind of realistic, but it's not. Like the art style that they use. So like when you look at Uncharted, you expect Nathan Drake to age like you age, and he has from the first one to the fourth one, and so he can't go on forever. You know what I mean?
Too.
Kratos,
but if you think about it, Kratos.
Well, I mean, Kratos could because
Kratos has probably made the most appearances on multiple systems.
Yeah,
I'll agree with you on that. Yeah,
right?
he is.
This is what the 8th proper God of War game.
But if you,
yeah, but fourth in the main
I
line.
was talking more about actual systems, though. He's been on
2, 3, and 4.
PSP, Vita, and 4.
Flip phone. Remember the flip phone God of War game? Betrayal. That game was awful. I spent $7 on that game.
Nathan Drake had what? 3, Vita, and 4?
Yeah, he had PlayStation 3, Vita, and 4. So yes. Yeah, so
like Infamous, though, it continued the name onto 4, but I mean, and he's referenced, but Cole's only in PS3.
Yeah.
So like the franchises, they can establish them and they'll continue, but
it won't be the same characters. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, true. Like you look at The Last of Us Part 2, like we still don't even know if Joel is even in that game.
Yeah,
you know?
That's true. Like in
a human capacity, he might just be like
he
a
could
memory.
Be a figment of her imagination too. She could have gone total. That's a cool theory that I like. A fan theory is that like he's dead and she's lost it, and now she's talking to him as like he's actually there, when he's not. And I think that would be a cool, mechanic to add to the game, for her and to see how she handles that,
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing. Like Sony has been a more adult gaming platform, and therefore their franchises have been more so set in reality.
Well,
you know what I mean? Real world.
I wouldn't say not so much reality, but Mario's story, he just saves the princess. That's it. That's the whole story.
Yeah.
Like, so you can rehash it 30 different ways and make, like, Aloy's story ends. You're not going to continue. Like even not it's not an exclusive, but look at The Witcher. CD Projekt Red said Geralt is done because they intended that it's finished. They want to make more in the universe, but he's finished.
Yeah, I bet The Witcher will continue with like Siri or something, probably, right?
But who knows? Video game developers lie all the time. There were some politicians.
Right.
PS5 launches with Witcher 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like David Jaffe saying, "Oh, we're not doing Twisted Metal," and then he drives the freaking ice cream truck out on the E3 stage.
Yeah, but you gotta, like that kind. I understand because like he doesn't want to spoil a big reveal right before it happens.
I know, but that was cool.
Right.
That was a cool lie.
Yeah, that is a cool lie. Like, but when they're just like, no, or like the whole Killzone, what was it, 2, when they showed that trailer and it was complete like. Complete lie. Although in what was that, Guerrilla? In Guerrilla's defense, they just made that as a demo and Sony took it and they didn't even know it was gone until Sony took it to show it and they were like, what the heck? So it wasn't even their fault.
To be fair, Killzone 2 looked really good anyway, though. Like maybe it wasn't like a great game, but it looked great. It looked great. I don't know. I'm not as down on Killzone as a lot of people are. I kind of thought it was an okay.
I still play Mercenary on Vita.
I'm playing through Shadowfall right now, currently. So, yeah. So I think it's just a different type of quote unquote legendary status that they're reaching. Like they're putting out really great games that it's like, yeah, if you haven't played that, you should go back and play Horizon, or you should play the new God of War. So I feel just Mario and Zelda, it's kind of like Jason said, like Mario is always going to be save the princess. And just whatever changes is just the game mechanics and graphically a little bit, you know, and it moves forward from there. Like they've created a timeless IP. Whereas in, you know, like I said, like you expect Nathan Drake to age like you do, or Kratos, although Kratos is, spoilers, a god, so he doesn't really need to age, but still. Yeah. So that's my feelings on it. I think they can create something parallel to it, but just not necessarily exactly like
I think they're building the library that when people look back on greatest games, you're going to see a lot of PlayStation exclusives.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the specific characters, but you're going to name these exclusives. Like, and it's getting to the point where they can top Nintendo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like PS4 alone, I mean, has at least 5 or 6 phenomenal games. With that little one, God of War, coming out Friday, which is people are hailing as one of the greatest games they've ever played.
Yeah.
And like, you know, even if their IP doesn't like pan out, like they have a great idea. Like the one game I'll go to bat for all the time, which is like probably the best 6 you're ever going to get, is The Order. Like that game is
Get
such
that platinum, Corey. We'll help you.
That game has such an awesome premise and such a cool idea. And if they would have just like went the extra step and just totally ripped off Gears of War's gameplay and like kind of like level, like type of level design that they do, like if they made a sequel, that would be like, that solves your shooter problem right there. You know, that game.
I love
that game so much.
I mean, my only complaint was Chapter 11, which is a cutscene. Spoiler: you don't actually play it.
Yeah.
I just, you know, The Order. The only thing that like besides not being able to play it, a lot of the game, that like the letterbox.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, that kind of like, no thanks. But like the shooting feels good. Like the kick on the guns feel good. Like the cover system feels good.
I need to play it. It's on my list for my challenge this year.
I hope they make a sequel.
The main character is badass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really hope they make a sequel. Like I really do. I don't care if it's ready at dawn or not, but I really hope Sony allows someone to make a sequel. So. Yeah. But I mean, back to the topic, and we'll kind of wrap this up soon. But like, I feel like Sony is getting to the point where people will start appreciating their IP. Maybe not the characters directly, but the IP along the lines of Nintendo. But it's going to take another generation or two for them to really kind of fill out their, you know, new quote unquote library of IP. And you know, it's going to be they're going to be what people love about Nintendo, but for an older audience. You know, like people are gonna appreciate their kind of take on storytelling and world building and you know, kind of lore within the game, that kind of stuff. And I really think Sony's like really stepped it up. And like PS3, they were starting to show signs of like, okay, we have IP, we have good ideas, and now this generation they're just like really knocking it out of the park.
They are.
So.
I mean, God of War's coming this year. Detroit Become Human comes out next month, and then Spider-Man's guaranteed in September.
Yeah, that's Spider-Man.
What's coming in the summer. So, I mean, they've got a lot of content for this year. A lot of great games. Yeah. So. I feel like God of War, the way people are talking about it, it's going to be a Game of the Year contender.
I can't wait. I
can't wait
because like I love God of War. I love that series so much. Like I like those first 3 games, and I even like Ascension. almost as much as I like anything that Nintendo does.
Ooh.
So like I'm just like, oh, and if they put if this game has the heart and soul that everybody says it does, I'm gonna be like, this might be my game of the year. I'm probably gonna be ready to name it in April, my game of the year.
Call it a day.
Yeah. Yep. Write it down. Just so. Anybody else have anything else to say before we wrap up? B-sides? No?
All good.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you guys so much for watching NGR B-sides. Remember, you can find it every Thursday at noon here on youtube.com/NGR radio and ngrradio.com/B-sides. If you can't get enough of us on Monday, return here and you can see more of us. Thanks, Jason and Jeff, for joining us. Moose.
hey guys.
We actually stayed on topic this time because Matt
Yeah,
wasn't.
we did. Yeah, we did a good job. We did a good job.
I know. We'd be talking about
Although
how
he's
fast the
done,
vinyl spins on a record
now
player.
don't throw him under the bus like that. He's been doing a really good job of staying on topic and keeping the podcast on point.
See,
He's doing better.
Just saying his name, you guys started going off tangent.
I know.
All right, we're done.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Like, subscribe, and share. Download our family of podcasts here on NGR Radio, including Nerds Gone Rogue and Nerds Gone Platinum and Pow Block, which is beating you guys by 53 downloads right now.
What?
Yes. 53. There's a lot of crossover. That's okay. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. And until next week, we're out.
You're welcome.